E essa consciência, que não é como a consciência humana, mas faz parte da consciência cósmica, faz parte da consciência geral, é um tipo de consciência que todo reino tem e que não é bem o tipo de consciência que nós temos. Porque a nossa consciência chega a perceber que somos um indivíduo. A consciência do reino mineral não dá este sinal. Na consciência do reino mineral, ele se situa
places itself in the whole mineral kingdom, not in individuals, not in a part of a gold or in a part of a stone. It is placed in the whole thing, in all of these kingdoms. So the mineral kingdom has not an individualized consciousness. What the mineral kingdom feels, the whole kingdom feels it. A mineral is not able to feel something more than the others, so it's something very mysterious to us, and that we can go deep in it, and we will be able to know this better, so that we can comprehend better this kingdom. And we will be able to do this if we have a more internal life. All this hidden part from the mineral kingdom, we can get it through an inner life, an internal life. What happens with humanity regarding suffering is not possible, is not enough to balance the bad things that we do to the kingdoms of nature, what we cause to the kingdoms regarding suffering, to the consciousness of the kingdoms, the groupal consciousness. We cannot, it is impossible to be balanced because it's huge. So humanity, instead of treating the kingdoms in a good way, we just use their energies. But our real role with them should be to collaborate with them, and in that collaboration to use them, but at the same time to give them something back. And our main task would be to be guardians of the kingdoms, not to exploit the kingdoms, not to extract gold, oil in an excessive way. This is a lack of sense, of a lack of being a guardian of these kingdoms, and all of this is hidden in the fact that we should be guardians from the kingdoms. For example, we do not have an idea of how much suffers the consciousness of a mountain, and we do not know the pain that exists in the heart of the mineral kingdom, in the way that how mountains are treated. The mineral kingdom has a mission that take care of, as we've seen it, but we treat it as if it's not sensitive, as it has no consciousness about what we're doing to it. But a mountain, for example, I'm talking about a mountain just to give an example. This example was also given by Saint Joseph in one of his last apparitions. Mountain is something living, something alive, and its beauty and its magnetic power is destroyed when we do the mineralization in a mountain. We do not know what it represents, a mineration, which means that this should be done as less as possible in order to extract the only essential needed part in order to the material life here on earth. This is what happens when we meaning the mountains. And same things happen in another dimensions, in the inner planes, in the hidden planes. The minerals, like in a mountain, for example, they aren't totally affected, but they are very affected here in the external part, in the material part. But in the most inner part, in the internal part, in the invisible world, where there's also the invisible minerals to us, there they are very less harm, damage, because they are in another part, in another plane. And you may ask to yourself, how do we know this? Well, this is not something that we get from a laboratory test. These things, we know it through the real sensitive people or the visionaries also that they dedicate to this task. Well, we know that minerals are part of the objective part of nature, nature that we see surrounding us. We are also a part of nature as the human nature, so the divinity turns invisible through the nature and through the soul, and from this feeling that exists in the mineral kingdom. Well, the patrimonium of the earth, the natural part of the earth in overall, is very harmed due to the meaning, the extraction of the oil. And there are areas in the planet, there are regions in the planet that have been more attacked for this exploration, as, for example, Fernando de Noronha here in Brazil, the Chapados de Veadeiros, the coast and places that were very invaded, especially the mineral kingdom. Well, our visionaries or the sensitives, the most acute ones, they said that each stone that is destroyed, each stone that is violated, each part of water that is contaminated is like if we are poisoning or if we are destroying the heart of entities that are the responsible ones for these kingdoms here on earth. And if we may have an interest for going deep in our knowledge, in our feeling, we would know that the minerals and also as the other kingdoms, they are here on the earth in order to help us, help our souls, our inner beings, our spirits, so that they may uplift in a most easy way, in an easier way. This is a mystery, but for example, our contact with the mineral kingdom, with the vegetal, with the plant kingdom, with the animal kingdom, with the Devic, with the elemental kingdom, what all this has to do with our uplifting of the spirit, how all of this is related with the upliftment of our inner world. Well, this is a mystery, because these kingdoms, especially the mineral kingdom, before emerging on the earth, he goes through different processes during its creation until it comes here to the earth. And for us, in order to have an idea of the process of the mineral kingdom, and for us to have an idea of what spiritual things contains in it, we should, for example, need to approach ourselves to what we call as planetary centers, because the mineral kingdom, for example, is very related with the planetary center that is called Iberá. Iberá, as kind of regent, as a promoter of the mineral kingdom here on earth, Iberá is what gives, is what makes that in it happens a capacity of connecting the atoms and the molecules in a way that it's able to make a synthesis of certain atoms and molecules that no other kingdom can do. And it's like this because the mineral kingdom, that is the result of this influence from Iberá, the mineral kingdom, for its work, for the work that complies with the body, it has a radioactivity like no any other kingdom has. And any particle of the mineral kingdom with this radioactivity can help so that our spirit, our inner world, may strengthen. This is one of the hidden works of Iberá, but every planetary center has a work that we know, and at the same time have a work that we do not know. So this is a work with Iberá and the mineral kingdom, is something that we need to perceive with our inner world. So this
radioatividade do reino mineral vai fazer com que nós consigamos
radioactivity from the mineral kingdom will help us so that we may perceive in our inner world extraplanetary energies. So when someone begins to perceive energies from outside this planet, this is the effect of the radioactivity of the minerals that are above, let's say, that are under the protection of the Iberá center, and this is the result of a contact with a lot of devas in evolution, acting directly in the precious stones, for example. And in this way, we may have a bigger sensibility, we may have a possibility of feeling more this radioactivity if we give to the mineral kingdom a love, not a material love, not an ambitious love, not ambition, but a love unconditional, a love without any interest. How we may stay with a love like this without any interest before gold, for example. This is something that in our education does not exist. You do not have an yearning for gold, not for feeling any attraction for the gold, for the power that gold has. But if we emanate pure love to the gold, for example, this will give us another development, inner and hidden development. We should truly need to modify our attitude before the minerals, because the precious stones aren't insensitive. Gold isn't insensitive, but all of this has a different sensibility, not possible to be comprehended to us. But the minerals aren't inert. Minerals have an inner rhythm that we may that we got to perceive it in another way. Look, we are going to say something that it may seem a little bit from the creativity, but we are going to say it. Do you know that the minerals, that certain kind of stones let themselves to be worked by the winds? How do you think that a certain stone in a desert may look like the face of a person, for example? There are regions in the planet, for example, in Erx, in Córdoba, Argentina. If you go there to the mountains and you see certain stones, you see things done by the wind in those stones that are really human faces plasmed in the stones. And all of this means that the mineral kingdom, when it receives the winds, is sensitive to an order. And who's giving this order? The most acute ones. They said that each stone that is destroyed, each stone that is violated, each part of water that is contaminated is like if we are poisoning or if we are destroying the heart of entities that are the responsible ones for these kingdoms here on earth. And if we may have an interest for going deep in our knowledge, in our feeling, we would know that the minerals and also as the other kingdoms, they are here on the earth in order to help us, help our souls, our inner beings, our spirits, so that they may uplift in a most easy way, in an easier way. This is a mystery, but for example, our contact with the mineral kingdom, with the vegetal, with the plant kingdom, with the animal kingdom, with the Devic, with the elemental kingdom, what all this has to do with our uplifting of the spirit, how all of this is related with the upliftment of our inner world. Is governed by some other consciousnesses that aren't from the human kingdom, and the stone being touched by the wind and obeyed and create there almost a human face in the stone itself. This means that the minerals has a sensibility and that the minerals are connected with many things that belongs to the universe and that are from certain elements that aren't exclusive from this earth. Now we are going to make certain comments that we took, that we get from certain transmissions of the visionaries. What we call the feminine aspect of the creation, and how to us is a little bit complicated to imagine this. Then the planetary, the evolution plan gave a name to it and gave the name of Mary, that we know as the Virgin Mary, that who a part of her, a certain emanation of this feminine energy, a little emanation of this feminine energy incarnated on the earth as a mother of Jesus. And Mary, as instructor of humanity, she is instructor of the humanity from the feminine point of view. And Mary said that the mediocrity of the human life is great, and this do not allow that the light that comes from a superior kingdom may penetrate on these great abysses that exist in here on the earth. She is using the word abysses in order to talk about the degree of ignorance that exists on the planet Earth, because our pride, we think that we know about many things, many mysterious things, but actually we know actually nothing about it. And all the things that we use, all the things that we live according this feminine aspect of the creation is from a really big mediocrity. And in this way is that the celestial hierarchy goes through with a plan that may remove the hypnotism that humanity is living on, because we are hypnotized by our illusions, by our imagination, by our human creativity, and we, with this radiation from the mineral kingdom, and with things that the plant kingdom and that the animal kingdom would have to give us, as we will see on the next reunions, on the next lectures, we cannot even enter in contact with them. Sometimes, eventually, with a little part of all of this, but with this, the world lives in a mediocrity as the one that we are assisting. Now, Mary, she continues saying in one of her transmissions, the world as a whole decided to learn through pain. Humanity in general, there's exceptions, of course, but in general, humanity opts to learn through suffering when actually it could have learned through the instruction. She could have learned through the culture, or also assuming the spiritual things, but humanity chose to learn through suffering. And this is why, and because of its attitude before the kingdoms of nature, that suffering is so heavy, why the suffering in the human consciousness is so patent. But Mary says, the world as a whole decided to learn through pain, through the indifference, and through the mistakes, the sins. This is why it is not fair to the planet nor to the lower kingdoms of nature, the ones who carry on with the consequences and the results of the human consequences. These kingdoms, a mineral, for example, look what we do to water. The plant kingdom, look what we do to the plants. The poisons that we place in them, and look what we do with the animal kingdom, how we kill them, we martyrdom them, and we eat them. With all of this, when actually they should be receiving from us a collaboration, a support, but we do not do this. And this, from a superior point of view, it's called mediocrity. And Mary this is what reveals a situation of mediocrity. Water, as a mineral, it naturally emerges on the surface of the earth in a natural way. It emerges in a very natural way, and it has no color, no flavor, no smell at all. And with all of this being so simple, and with all of this just emerging in a natural way when it just needs to emerge without a flavor, a color, nor smell, is an essential liquid to our life, and we couldn't be able to live many days without water. We can live 40 days, up to 40 days, not eating anything solid, but we couldn't live 40 days without water. We could live just a few days without water, because it's an essential liquid to life. So this kingdom, if we ask ourselves, what is this kingdom? what this kingdom is, we probably may receive an answer, but we lack the necessity of instructing ourselves in a more interior, more subjective way, and a diva that takes care of many things here on the earth and related to the Virgin Mary, that the beauty, the tenderness expressed by nature through water is very, very important, is impressive. And this diva, it's saying that the water as a part of the mineral kingdom developed us. So water, it summarized the whole experience. It summarized all of this. When you drink a glass of water, there you are placing in your body experience, the experience of a kingdom, of all of the things that the kingdoms manifested on the earth, experiment and developed. Imagine how we would be more evolved if we know how to truly drink a glass of water, if we know how to use water, if we know how to be in the water with gratitude when we take a bath, for example. Imagine in which evolutive point we could be, how our sensibility could be at this moment. But nowadays we open a tap, we see that water falling, that is filled with chlorine, that it looks like a water that is not that alive because it went through so many kilometers, miles, that it is not anymore a living water. But even though the water that leaps from the tap, the one that comes from the shower, even though all of the bad things that we make it go through, it has many positive things. And we, when entering in contact with this liquid, when entering in contact with this wonder from the nature, we must have at least a gratitude, at least to feel their presence. This, with our feelings, with our consciousness, with our sensibility, that we may develop little by little. And if we apply our qualities, our gifts, in order to recognize these things, we would be way more better, evolutively speaking, because in a hidden way, water and some other minerals will pass us through their radiation, many things that our inner world would know how to receive it, and our inner world would use it a lot in a positive way. But until our consciousness does not recognize this, we won't be receiving this. And now this diva also says that water is like a great bank of dates, a database in a permanent renovation, because this database that the water is, the things that the water summarizes of experiences from all of the kingdoms, this is constantly being renovated and growing since water existed. This means that all of the experiences developed on this planet, laboratory planet, are incorporated in the water element. And the mineral kingdoms are in everything and in everyone. The mineral kingdoms are in everything and in everyone. Even though we do not always perceive it, but from an inner point of view, it can be perceived. And water has its role of flowing with all of the energies and with all of the informations, and maintaining life on each organism. In here says literally that water maintains life on every organism. Well, we know that the human body, for example, it has a lot of water. Human body is a great container of water. Water is a great part of the human body. And in this way, water is a great part of all of the bodies. Water, in its majority, is a great part of all of the things that we may be perceiving. On top of being a factor of support to the other kingdoms, the plant, the animal, the human, as we've seen it, to the divine providence may flow, we may have a little bit more of consciousness about the use of these elements from nature, these natural elements, because this would maintain our balance, and we, maintaining ourselves in balance, individually speaking, we transmit, we radiate balance. But now we are going to see in here a little bit water in the oceans. And what an ocean represents, I don't know what idea we've got about an ocean, but oceans, according to a hidden knowledge, the ocean is a mirror, according to the phrase that they use. Ocean is a mirror of inner light over the world. How a mirror can capture an inner light. An ocean, the ocean covers almost the whole part of the earth. There's way more ocean than earth. And this is because the ocean is a mirror of the inner light to the world. The ocean receives a certain light that exists in the universe. The ocean receives this and reflects this to the world. So this is why water, that's why the earth has more sea than earth, because it's a mirror that receives that inner light, being material, physics, absorbs inner light. Look, what a thing. And that it reflects it over the world. And also, the ocean absorbs codes of renovation. The ocean is permanently being renovated. You are able to see that the oceans nowadays, they became the trash of cans. The Pacific Ocean has a lot of trash in it, but I know that oceans are also under the guard of the extraterrestrial science. The scientific extraterrestrials, from where they are in contact with the oceans in a certain way, but the oceans are the factor of the radiating renovation here on the earth. You know, when the sea goes through the sand and the waves renovate themselves and they do those movements, that symbolizes renovation. That's what the oceans radiate to the earth, and they also, the great oceans exist in many points of light that create a great network that connects us with the source of the grace. Look, grace is something very abstract. A source of grace, where is that? It's something very abstract. And the ocean, being physic, it contains in its nature many points of light. It contains there a network. It contains there a network that is connected with all of the points of grace from the universe. And the oceans, they captivate the principles from this source. And when we do a prayer where the oceans are included, where somehow in this prayer the prayer is connected with the meaning of the oceans, then this we are connected with a lot of peace, a lot of harmony, and we are connected with something that we call as mercy. So this ocean has a lot to do with mercy. Mercy that is an energy, mercy that is a law that does not belong to this earth, but that apply to this earth by the human, by superior consciousnesses. And oceans are connected with all of this. For example, when you travel by sea, regardless what may happen with certain elements, with other processes of the sea, when you travel by sea, we are under a certain protection. We are traveling, we are walking, we are moving ourselves in something that is protecting us, and we do not know what all of the things that the oceans are transmutating while we are in contact with it. And the light that exists in the oceans, this entity says, it helps in a wild way to the divinity, to humanity. Do we see light in the oceans? Oceans radiate light, and oceans also have an inner light, same as us. We, being physic, we have an inner light, and this light is radiated by the oceans. And when we enter in contact with this kingdom, the mineral kingdom, we enter in the ambit of all of these events, and a part of us, very subjective, eventually unconscious, is in contact with these things, even though our conscious part does not even imagine all of this. And through the great oceans, it gets established a will. The great oceans, they there shelter a will that comes from the universe. This is why they are so immense, because they correspond here on the earth the vastity of the universe, and how vast they are, and how many, with a lot of inner contact that has with this greater world, they there are able to contain a lot of will, contain a lot of energy, of the energy of the will. And all contact that you have with the oceans, you are in contact with this energy.
Bem, vamos nos lembrar de alguns desastres ambientais.
Well, we are going to remember certain disasters that took place lately. You all know that once there was a sea called Sea of Arau, and the waters from it were used and channeled to the consume of water from the populations. And the Sea of Arau ended practically being dry. And this was a great disaster. We know this from the physical point of view, because nowadays this sea, that nowadays is something very little, because this causes many things, for example, the death of many animal and plant kingdoms, members from these kingdoms. Nowadays, this became a desert, mostly of the other kingdoms, and it just died. And this is causing also a lot of movements with the of sand, something that is very negative to the human kingdom also. This is what happened with the Aral Sea. There was an indigenous that in the 2008 was contacted by a diva, and he transmitted to us that since the moment that the indigenous were killed, murdered, and tortured, and enslaved, the earth began to enter in a process of sicknesses. Nowadays, we got still certain indigenous examples, but most of them just disappeared. But this took the earth to a process to be more sensitive to certain illnesses, and the earth, since the planet, since that moment on, it began to lose a little bit the balance from the point of view of its health. And the indigenous said that since that moment, and he said that in 2008, back then the earth was very sick, and that it would be necessary now not only to pray for the earth itself. This has been said by indigenous. Not only pray for the earth, but also to be in contact with the ground, with the earth, and with each one of the elements in another attitude, in a more healthy, more fraternal attitude. And he said that the contact with the earth, with water, and with all of the kingdoms cannot be lost, because in the way that we treat the kingdoms, especially the mineral, the plant, and the animal, the divas and the elementals, we cannot treat them bad because we don't see them, but they feel what we do with the plants, for example. But if we could feel the divas and the elementals, what we could do with them? But well, have to more contact with the earth, with the ground itself, with the water, cannot be lost. And we should use our consciousness there in order to expand love, the interest to these kingdoms. And this indigenous said that this work of contact with the kingdom, this love for the kingdoms, should exist beyond our inner world. He thinks that prayer aren't enough on this fact. Pray for the kingdoms, it is not enough. On top of this, we need to have a consciousness to multiply this consciousness and to teach that there is necessary another consciousness regarding the kingdoms, and that we should live according to what? To this consciousness. To what this consciousness is saying. Regarding the minerals, we would like to tell you that the earth, the mineral, suffers a lot with the machines and with the equipments used in the agriculture sectors. Certain machines, tractors, equipments, these are a pain for the mineral kingdom. These are a pain, and these difficulties are approach to certain aspect of the earth, and then when we the ground goes through it, the ground, the earth feels also very poisoned with the products that we place in it. Certain fertilizers are poison. because
vai haver uma nova humanidade.
there will be a new humanity, and the new
Vai
humanity
necessitar de tudo
is
isso.
going to
A
need
nova
all of this.
humanidade
The new humanity
vai necessitar
will
não só
need
de coisas
not only
físicas,
physical
como nós
things
vivemos
as
procurando,
we
mas a nova
are
humanidade
constantly looking
vai
for. The
precisar
new
de
humanity
todo
will
esse lado
need
oculto,
also
de todo
all of
esse
this
lado
hidden
sutil,
part, all of
sutil
this
dos
subtle
minerais, dos
part of the
vegetais,
minerals, the vegetables,
são de grande
and they are
importância
of
que
a
nós
great
desconhecemos.
importance and there is unknown to us.
E também existem pedras cuja irradiação
And also there are stones that with their radiation and with their use, I don't know how we can use a stone in order to help to our psychic capacities, but this should be when you have a contact with a stone, you're also doing an inner contact with it. You are considering the stone not a stone as everyone considers. You're considering that a part of a kingdom that is in here, inclusive serving, taking care of the psychic part of humanity, and some other stones that have the possibility of being in contact with an energy that we've got in our heart. And this is something very hidden, and it's necessary that you use your heart, your contact with these stones, that you take care of the stones with the energy of your heart, that you have them as something very, very important, spiritually speaking, so that it may stimulate your Christic energy, so that it may emerge more, so that your Christic energy shall be more perceived. Look, we're talking about things that are not that material, and that would need that we be very interested in another side of the life, that it is not this part of the life that we're living in, but the other part of the life that has all of this, that includes all of this in a perfect way. Well, now in here we say certain things that were channeled were received by Friar Elias del Sagrado Corazón, and they was received from an aspect of Jesus that contacts the earth. In here it says, the world day by day takes decisions against the laws of God, and it attracts the impossible to pay count that humanity generates. I need humanity to place their consciousness in the consciousness of the planet, that is the home that God has chosen to you since the beginning of the earth, since the origin of the project for this humanity. Since the origin, the house had been prepared for us, and look how we are destroying it. Christ continues saying here through the visionary Friar Elias, the world does not place its attention to the wounds that causes to the universe, and above all to the material universe, the planet, the continents, the seas. And the world does not perceive the wounds that cause in the animal, in the plant, and in the mineral kingdoms. How humanity could be present on this planet if these lower kingdoms do not exist? Kingdoms that gives you the life in order to evolve. What we could do without water, we wouldn't be able to exist. If in another world from this universe there's life, how kingdoms would not be in here? If the kingdoms are in a whole universe in other shapes, in another way, why kingdoms couldn't be in here? why we do not know how to receive the kingdoms from the ones we are a part of, let's say. If in another worlds from this universe there's life, how kingdoms would not be able to be in here? They are necessary for you so that you may learn how to feel God, so that you may learn how to be vivified through the creation expressed on this planet. The kingdoms of nature, the mineral, the plant, the animal, the Devic and the elemental kingdoms, they express things in here that we should notice, that we should observe, and we should need to communicate with this. We need to communicate with what water is. We need to communicate ourselves with what gold is, with what a stone is. Do you comprehend? And not to treat these things as objects, not to treat them as beings that are very different to us, yes, but they are similar beings also to us from a point of view, from the origin, because we, as them, we came from the same origin, and we are in here in a different shape. We are in here in a kind of different consciousness, but these kingdoms are our brothers. Well, are our siblings. Well, in here the divine messengers are saying that we should commune with the harmony and the beauty of the seas, that we should commune with the healing and the liberation of the minerals. We should be united to these minerals in the way to collaborate, so it might be a liberation of the situation that they are going through. And in here the divine messengers tells us that the 144,000 that are named in the Bible talks about the 144,000. This is a number of souls, of monads that are being called to carry the cross with the kingdoms of nature. The 144,000 are in here to receive something. This 144,000 must be present in here in order to help to carry the cross of these kingdoms, and the cross of the mineral kingdom is very heavy. The cross of the vegetal kingdom is very heavy, and probably the most heaviest one is from the animal kingdom, the one that is martyrdom every day in a million percentage. So the 144,000 are called to carry the cross of the animal kingdoms, and the one from the animal kingdom is very heavy because it's a kingdom totally outraged on this planet. When you think that water comes pure from the inner part of the earth and ends up on a tub filled with chlorum, with all of the things that you place in the water after going through miles and miles of tubes. Of pipes, but well, we should need to be before these things in order to awake. We need to be before this, making something, doing something. Well, the mineral kingdom receives the energy of the will, as we said at the beginning, but also this will that comes to the mineral kingdom that even makes it to continue to exist, even though all of the things what happens to it in here, even that we extract oil in order to pollute the atmosphere, when oil is something that should be in the center of the earth, being prepared for something that needs to be known in the new humanity in another way, because we do not know what's going to happen with oil. We do not know how this will become, but we have no notion at all of this. But the mineral kingdom, with its first ray and with this contact that it has with the planetary center of Iberai, it has the capacity of continuing here, even though all of the things that we do to it. So the earth, the essence of the earth, the essence of the water, the essence of the stones, the essence
isto tudo continua íntegro, apesar de tudo. Apesar de tudo. Então, este
of these things, they continue there, even though all of the things that happens. So they have the ray of the first ray, the will of the universe, of the cosmos, and this makes it to stay in here. Because do you imagine, can you imagine that for water actually would be very easy to just disappear? It just can stay where it is, that's it. But all of this is very mysterious and is also within a universe of surface. And the mineral kingdom, the animal, the plant kingdom, they continue serving even though all of the things that happened. It seems that they have no conscience, that they do not feel, but they do feel in their essence. It's a different sensibility than ours, it's a different consciousness from ours, but this is all apart from the universal consciousness, from the one we are also a part of. Well, now in order to finish, we are going to read a sentence that has been given to us through one of our instructors that are very in contact with the instruction area. Contemplate kingdoms, and unite yourselves to them. Thus, you will open up more your hearts. What we need is to open up our hearts. And in order to open the heart, there is a very short path, according to this entity. Contemplate the kingdoms. Contemplate will be to be before a kingdom, observing it, making a union with it, just contemplating, trying to see beyond the appearance, not having any kind of utilitarian interest, just contemplating without any interest. You contemplate because you contemplate. You contemplate because you are in there before something that you want to become. If you contemplate something, it's because you want to become that. So you can use a picture, you can use a symbol and contemplate that symbol. And contemplation helps so that you may become that you are contemplating. And contemplate the kingdoms would make the effect of opening our heart. We are going now to thank a little bit for all of these informations that we had. We are going to thank for received so much information in order to comply with this lecture. In the next lecture, the 18th of July, we will study the plant kingdom. That will be our next program, our next theme. Thank you all for the attention, and until the month of July. Thank you.